All right, here we go. Finally, almost back on track. So this is actually going to be a continuation of not last week's episode because there wasn't anything last week, but the week before. So yeah, we had some difficulties. We got cut off, and of course, Tom can only do so much now, which is fine. I mean, he's got his own life and new work and stuff, and there we go. Looks a little bit better. And as you remember, I showed you at the end of last week's, my fucking shell here fell apart. So I'm finally building a new one here. This one's got plastic sheets and some PVC down here. But I didn't get enough sheets, apparently. I wish I'd realized that ahead of time. So this is, well, it's only half done. I've got like some of the sound panels up here, and I'm going to get a blanket to go over it and all that stuff. And then this is going to be filled in after this eventually. And then I will finally be back on track. But anyways, yeah, this one, we finish up what we were... this is the rest of what I recorded with Tom earlier. And since not as much, I'm also going to be getting into some articles and stuff again. So, yeah, here we go. This is the rest of it. Keep watching. No, actually, speaking of the human NPC thing, does actually remind me of well, I wouldn't call it a conversation since I was just by myself, but one of my older episodes where I think I kind of know like how the brain works, if that makes sense. So this was obviously a stoner thought that I had a while back, but it made enough sense that it sticks. But the mind and the brain are obviously two separate things, right?
Right. The brain is the organ, whereas the mind is the animus, or the thing. It's like you could, at one point you could consider a man wearing his armor or a pianist playing the piano almost one and the same thing, but one's a mechanical extension of the other. Continue.
Close. But so the human mind doesn't like physically exist in any way that we know it. And more importantly, we don't know how that is tethered to a specific person.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I mean, you know, a lot of people say like, you know, oh, the mind's in like other realms, or it's like weird psychic whatever. Well, what I realize is that the obvious answer is that the brain is basically just like a very complicated pentagram, of which the working form generates a virtual construct, which is a mind. And if you like smack it wrong, or you know, take a little chunk off, changes the mind.
Yeah, no.
Doesn't work the same.
Well, so then so you're saying the synthesis of the two has to be complete, because there is the argument that a pianist playing an out of tune or a broken piano, there might be the pianist may be perfectly fine, but it's the piano that's wrong, and so therefore when we interact with that hearing, it's the audio of the piano we're saying is out of tune, and we blame the pianist when in actuality it's the piano. So in that analogy, there's nothing wrong with the mind, but it's the brain that's broken, which means that the mind can't perform as it should. So that's the second way you could look at it if you're following, you're looking. But what do you mean? Did you mean pentagram? What do you mean by that? Like, are you talking like the satanic, or like the straight up like alchemic? Like, what do you mean, like pentagram?
Just I mean kind of just like in the way that it's like the simplest thing that I could think of. I mean, because it's, you know, a bunch of lines that together don't mean, or well, by themselves don't mean anything.
Oh, you're talking about holes in composite, like a composite in parts. So like the
Yeah.
parts individually are meaningless, but put together
Yeah, you
they
put it
bring
together in
something.
a certain way,
Oh,
and you
okay.
get a portal to Satan
Yeah,
or
sweet.
whatever. Whereas in this
Hails,
case, yeah.
hails Satan.
Well, or I guess like another explanation would be just obviously like it kind of works like well, I was gonna say like a hard drive, but that also doesn't exactly make sense because that would imply like physically burning images and all that shit.
Well, some people think of, I mean, the ancients thought of brains like hard drives. It was you were a raw slate or tabula rasa, right? And impressions upon you were burned into who you were, and that was it. Like experiences are what made the person. And it was the argument of, well, is it nature or nurture? Are you going to be who you are because of who you are, or are you going to be of who you are because of the way you were raised or impacted? And so you had people going back and forth. Like Rousseau was tabula rasa, I remember now. But um, you had like ancient philosophers thought it was, oh, you were who you were, and experiences help you discover that. Versus some people who are like, you only become who you are because of experience. It's like it's really like one of those fascinating thought experiments, like quite philosophical questions. You could just like you could tear apart like it's so many angles. And the composition one, where it's like nothing makes sense unless all of it's put together correctly. That's I think more of the modern philosophy thingy of it. It's like I want to say that's more like it's more like it's more in the modern realm. Like you wouldn't see it in the ancient or like the postmodern stuff, right? It's because in the postmodern stuff, it's everything sucks. We're all gonna die anyway, so who cares? Like it's all that shit.
But well, also at the same time though, I guess fortunately is that the like the actual physical brain is complicated enough that if something changes or gets removed, you don't lose everything completely.
Yeah, and in that way you can compare it right to like a hard drive where it's like, oh, I lost this portion of the disk that's forever gone, but the rest of it's still intact or something like that. I mean, I'm not a computer rocket scientist, professor, doctor, man, but I mean, like, but you can have memory placed in different places on a computer, and if one chip's fried, doesn't mean you lose everything. Like, so yeah, I totally back that. But it's weird too. It's also that same complexity that makes me wonder where it's like, man, if we understood it even further, would that help the philosophical question? You know? Because like everyone thinks of like philosophy and science as like, oh, philosophy is what you do when you want to smoke pot and not work hard to be a scientist. And it's like, no, actually philosophy informs a lot of personal and moral decisions that affect societies and philosophies and histories. Like just like read a history book. Shit happens. It's usually because some philosopher wrote something and enough people were like, oh, whoa, that's weird. And then they didn't realize that's what was happening, but that's what just happened. Or it was the after effect of an event of history. And so it would be really cool to be like, 50, 60 years from now, and there's like breakthroughs in how we understand how the brain works. And it would help illustrate that question. Or it would even be weirder if like we like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, we know 99.99999% of how the human brain works. We literally could be aliens. They couldn't tell us anything more about how the brain works that we don't already know. And then they're like, well, yeah, well, how does the whole mind brain thing work? And they're still like, no idea. like that in and of itself would be like revealing too. It would be weird. I don't know.
Oh, we definitely got a ways
I
for
know.
that. I think they'll figure out how to like replace every part of the human body before we get to that. Probably, which
Yeah.
I did actually see something interesting, like one of the Facebook ads that I always get. Apparently,
Mhm.
there are some places now accepting trials for like full disc replacement,
Oh wow.
which I'm unfortunately not rich and debilitated enough for that
Or
yet.
debilitated enough where it's like they're like, oh yeah, we'll pay for everything because you may die.
Well,
you know.
it's a study actually.
So yeah, they would.
Yeah.
Part of what they would do is they comp you. Yeah.
but I'm not rich enough to be incapacitated for the rest of my 60 years of my life that I have left.
I mean,
if that goes to shit.
yeah, exactly. Well, maybe less than 60. You may have not as much to worry about.
And
No, I know what you mean.
they were testing for like neck disc replacement too.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's like,
if that goes to
Did they
shit,
ha-
so do you.
like, it was it like one of those things where it was like, if you read the fine print, it's like, by doing the study, you are helping the human race, but you are totally screwed if something goes wrong. So fuck around and find out. Like, seriously. Good God.
Yeah, but also at the same time, like, it's gonna be somebody,
Yeah.
right?
Somebody's gonna do it. And
Yeah, someone's gonna be screwed.
yeah, I mean that's
Unless they're
statistics,
already
right?
that screwed anyway.
Oh yeah. Well that's
Yeah.
another thing. And that's why those studies are so appealing, because it can be like, well, like life can't really get any worse. And in some cases, those people are really not realizing what they have, even if what they have is shit. But sometimes, hey, shit's better than hellfire. Hellfire's better than any day spent with the Kardashians, right? Like, I mean, all of that, right? It's all about the grass is greener stuff. And then some people are just like, yeah, no, this is like this. I'm already in hell. Just anything is better. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Be interesting. That would be interesting to see. Like, oh yeah, we can just 3D print you a whole spine today, because y'all know that shit is going to be eaten up by rich people who are like, so you're telling me I can get a whole new set of 3D printed organs and bones and basically gain another 45 years as a result? Yeah, well, and gain like what, 45 years out of that, because they don't have to worry about deterioration, and all they have to do is just survive the surgery to attach, like, here's your head. Like, there you go. They can survive that part. Yay, classism will still exist in the future. Woo!
Actually, what I also kind of want to see, it's also interesting, is that I know there's at least one company that's starting to do like full working tests of like exoskeletons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be
Dude, I'm all about exoskeletons and robotics and armor. Like, that shit's so cool to me. Mostly just because I wish I was smart enough to like design it.
Oh yeah. Like
I want to be Tony Stark. Can I be Tony Stark, please? No, you're gonna be a dumbass kid. Oh, okay.
Well, it would probably end up looking more like some Fallout type of thing.
Oh yeah, in the beginning.
Like some power armor. Especially when we get to the point where we find out that, I don't know, Russia or whoever finally decides to launch all their shit. It's like, okay, well, I need to weld myself into this fucking thing so I can breathe for the next 40 days or whatever.
This is for wimps. The pee going down my leg just reminds me I'm fighting for freedom.
Yeah, right. I'll probably be more like a firefighter's outfit with some plates and a fan and a pistol, of course. Let's see what else. I finished up on my my league games finally.
I've got one on Thursday, and then I have to ringer the other couple. So unfortunate. Yeah, I won't be able to do the leagues for a while, but I'll
unceremoniously bow out. Yeah.
But hey, at the very least, I didn't want to just like up and quit. I mean, there are times where you got to do that.
Yeah.
And like, I just hate doing that. Like, and like, I would have paid my dues. Like, that's not even an issue. I'm loaded to be able to handle $15 and not rake the benefits of any of it. No, it's more like yeah, I just didn't want to sign up, bail out. I've seen people do it. It's annoying. It throws off scheduling.
Oh, yeah.
Then Jeff will make me angry, and I'll be like, maybe I want to do that. Just shit on Jeff's day. Maybe I could do that. So I'm gonna play Matt on Thursday, I'm gonna have the other 3 guys take ringer games. I get automatic zeros, and then just for the next couple of leagues, I'll just be a ringer if anyone wants it. Because when you got 2 kids, increased jobs, shit, life, shit, other shit, etc. Like it's really easy to make time consistently happen in some cases, and it's like, oh yeah, I can easily make Tuesday night happen. But I also, at the same time, have to be ready for any given Tuesday to be canceled. And I can't. Yeah, well, yeah, just because that's what happens. Like, kid gets sick, I gotta take care of him. Like, wife gets an invite to do something really cool. I want her to do that. Like, she doesn't get, she's with the kids all day. Like, of course I want her to go out. So, things come up. I have to be flexible, and for me, it's the schedule that I can kind of rely on. And then my son's teething and work has blown that to shit. Like, he slept for 2 hours now in a row, and that's insane for this early in the night. So like, I'm guessing he's waking up in 12 minutes if I was a betting man, which I am. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, it's one of those things where it's like, I've always had this I don't want to say fear, but there's this story I remember reading when I was a kid, or maybe it was when I was a kid. I think I was in high school or college, and it's a story about this girl, and she gets to this fruit tree, and this tree has branches and branches and branches, like infinite, and all of these different branches just go out for miles, it seems like, and it's just like the most beautiful, gorgeous tree, and each branch has its own kind of fruit on it. It's like this crazy ass freaking tree, and each of the branches has its own take on those fruits, and she's just like, I don't know which one to do. And like, the poem or the story ends with the tree just sitting there as pretty as ever, and there's a dead woman at the bottom of the tree, and she's super old. And the moral of the story is that girl was so paralyzed by decision, she never chose anything. And that really spoke to me, because like, I'm like a freaking golden retriever. If something's shiny and flashing in front of me, that's like the coolest thing in the world to me. And so I get into it, and it's like, oh, no. And then I look at it, and then I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, honestly, God, the 2 things that I've been into the longest have been 40K, because part of me was like, if I'm getting into this, I'm going to stick with it. And there have been years, and there have been times where I'm like, I don't feel like playing. Like, I'm actually in a bout like that, where I'm like, I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna be, and then there's other stuff where it's like, but then I'm like, no, I got to do it. I put too much money into this. Like, I gotta win.
True. Yeah.
And then video games, and that's a silly thing, because I'm not even talking about one specific game. I'm talking about the overall concept. At that point, you're like, you know what? I'm proud of myself. I got into music way back in the day, and I'm still into music. So I got that going for me. I'm consistent. What genre? Shut up.
So speaking of 40K and video games, well, now all I really have left to do is to try and boot up Windows on my new PC here, and then I can finally start working on the rest of my videos and shit again.
Did you get that? Did you get that all fixed up? Did you figure it out?
Yeah. So what happened was
here we go.
Yeah, no. So I was having a problem with my fucking graphics card. It just wasn't turning on at all, even though, turn on like everything else inside, all the fans, the processor, the board, everything was turning on. And all that shit.
The physical graphics card wasn't turning on. Like, you couldn't see the fan rotor on it. It wasn't active. You couldn't find it in your driver properties or anything like that. It's like it didn't even exist.
Okay, so first of all, my processor that I have doesn't support any graphics on its own.
Oh, so it doesn't have an onboard graphics.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to see what was going on or anything like that. And yeah, basically my GPU, it just wasn't doing anything. Like, I thought it was dead until like earlier today, when I was getting ready to leave the house to like go to the gym and which is back, but I was gonna go to the gym and then go do like a couple of quick deliveries or whatever, make a little bit of cash. And on my way out, it occurred to me that the RAM sticks that I had plug in, because my every motherboard has the 4 slots, but it's like A12, B12, and as far as I knew, or the way that I kind of interpreted from the motherboard manual, because the 1 slots are starred, and it literally just says use these first. So I had
I think I know where you're going with this. But keep going.
I had my stick slotted in the A1 and the B1, and the B1 wasn't lighting up or anything like that. So like I was about to leave the house. I came up here because I also had to write out my rent check, and I was like, I wonder if I just switch the B1 over to A2. Lights up, my thing starts working. It's like, oh shit, I plugged into my monitor. It's like, please wait for BIOS to boot up. It's like, fuck, I gotta leave. Yeah, but I took care of that part.
There you go. I love it when you get those moments of inspiration and you're like frustrated with the problem and you just leave doing something completely different and it's just like it just comes to you and it's just right then, like, oh fuck, like that is one of the most satisfying feelings, and it could be for the dumbest things, like fixing your computer. That's a pretty solid one. Like figuring out what to do about, I don't know, I wanted to put up a picture, I'm not sure where, I'm going to think about it. Oh, I don't like it here, and then like get anything. It's like one of the most satisfying feelings of all time. So, props.
But and that still didn't even explain like why that affected my graphics card at all.
I think it's because your graphics card relies on a certain amount of RAM to run. So when it goes through A1, B1, if your graphics card didn't have enough, but I thought it came with it. I mean, certain graphics cards may or not have enough RAM, and I'm not a computer expert. I just know vaguely from what I've seen my brothers do and from what I've read. But long story short, if there's not enough memory for the graphics card to use, it's just not going to run. And graphics cards require a fuck ton of memory, which is why most people usually, because were they 8 gig sticks?
Yeah, I have 2 8s.
Yeah, so you needed 6. Yeah, so most cards are minimum, they're 16. And 16 will do it. And if you got a powerful card, that's probably what it needed, was 16. Or it could have been something on the motherboard wiring where, since you didn't complete the A circuit, it was like, the shit are you doing, bro? I mean, it could be for like those or a couple other reasons, but when you figured out like, oh, I have to do this first, that could have just freed up the memory needed for it to run properly. So now all you have to do is just get yourself a sweet ass case, like $1,000, like overtly pointless but cool looking desktop case.
Oh, I already got a case. It's only like $100.
No, but I've seen some like desktop cases that look really freaking cool, and they're over the top expensive. They're just ridiculous.
Are you listening to this show and thinking, man, I'd like to start a podcast, but I don't even know where to start? Well, Buzzsprout has the answers for you. Buzzsprout is a podcast hosting service that provides a number of valuable resources to help you on your podcasting career path. For one, Buzzsprout offers indefinite hosting of all your episodes and allows you to host as much material as you want, depending on the type of subscription that you opt for. Buzzsprout also provides a means for getting your show hosted to every major podcasting platforms such as iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, you name it. In addition, Buzzsprout also provides various means to get your show monetized through various sponsorship and affiliate programs, links to other paid hosting platforms such as Patreon and YouTube, and your own personal newsroom to learn all the tips and tricks for optimizing your podcast for the greatest return on your investment. If you're hearing all this and you're still interested, you can go to my link below and receive an Amazon gift card for starting a podcast hosting subscription that you'll receive on the second billing period of your podcast journey. Everyone has something to share, and there's no time like the present. Join Buzzsprout today. Okay. Yeah. All right, quick break. Let's get into some articles for a change finally. First one I got up here. Revolutionary funeral facility turns humans into compost is now open. Oh, to turn humans into compost is now open. You can see from the date, this one's a little bit old. I've been hanging on to this one for a while, but it still applies. I'm not going to be using this one myself. I'll probably just get cremated when the time comes, just like the rest of my family. But, well, see, I remember a while back, someone started making, they started selling, like, cremation pods that also had, like, oak tree seeds and stuff like that, so that whenever you get cremated, put all your ashes in this thing and bury it, and it'll eventually grow into a big old oak tree that has, little bits of you inside of it. Apparently, I don't think that's actually how it works. I'm sure it's just a clump of ashes that the roots kind of grow around. This, on the other hand, is, well, it's a little bit it's not as personal. Right, because when you get turned into compost and you get mixed in with, like, all the other compost and shit, so it's going to be like your ashes, and then, like, a bunch of banana peels and coffee grounds and whatever shit that that you didn't want to eat or whatever. I don't like it. Also, I think it kind of hits on, what people are most afraid of, more than death even, is being worthless. But then I feel like a level below that, or above that, actually, that people are afraid of is being eaten. Because not only are you not really, not only are your aspirations and stuff not fulfilled, but you're also just food for something else. And that's kind of what this is right here. But I mean, if you're a tree hugger, you're a bit of a hippie, I guess. This is how you want to go. That's how you want to go. And it's not like they're gonna, kill you to do it. This isn't some Kevorkian thing. You're already dead. Honestly, by then it's your family's problem at that point. So that one's that. Let's see what else we got on here. Oh, here we go. We're getting into some movie stuff. Actually, how am I doing on time? Okay. Going a little fast. That's alright. Up next, Marvel Studios gets The Punisher and Jessica Jones rights back from Netflix. I think I've already kind of gone over this before. This one's also a little bit older, but I mean, for me, I'm a big fan of this because I was a big fan of, well, I still am, of all the Marvel shows that they had on Netflix, which included The Punisher and Jessica Jones, as well as, what are the other ones they had on there? Daredevil, what was it? Luke Cage and the Iron Fist. I realize my, you know what? Here. I'm a righty, so my right hand should be in the thing here. But this means, I still don't want to get there. We go. So this means that, hopefully it means that we're going to get all those shows back. Although I know most people didn't really like Iron Fist that much, so I wouldn't be surprised if they don't bring the. I hope they bring the character back with even with the actor, because it's weird whenever they recast stuff. Like it was fine when they did it with the Hulk, since the old movies were kind of before the MCU, even though technically the one with Edward Norton was actually technically like the very first MCU movie, and the other one before that with Eric Bana was just kind of whatever. But yeah, it would be weird if they just like recast. Oh, and well, actually they did it with what's his face, War Machine, with Don Cheadle. Because it used to be Cuba Gooding Jr. and I guess he didn't like the money or something like that. So like, well, we don't like you, right? And also that was a while ago too. So again, that back whenever they were still kind of well, whatever. And I think Iron Man was with Sony at the time, but they managed to get that back. But anyways, they got this stuff back, so it's looking good. And I know I've already talked about this before, but they are planning on having well, it sounds like they might have Daredevil in the next Spider-Man whenever that comes out, which I think I remember seeing some news in like 2022, so we got a while. But so that is good news as far as I'm concerned. Next up, we got same vein. This one is newer, actually, so this is more updated news. Marvel reportedly bringing back John Bernthal, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Kristen Ritter. So that is Bernthal, that's the Punisher. Charlie Cox is Daredevil. D'Onofrio is what's his face? Kingpin. So that's gonna be a good one. He was good in there. And then Kristen Ritter is again Jessica James. Or Jessica Jones. I think Jessica James is like a porn star or something like that. I don't. Oh, you know where my mind's at? Straight in the gutter. But so yeah, that is more. Whatchamacallit? What is this? Oh, that's just for the Defenders that they did a while ago, which was okay. It could have used more. I mean, they definitely packed it in since it was only like 8 episodes instead of 20 that they did for the normal shows. I think actually it was probably less. It was like 12, but so yeah, what's going on? Nothing. So that's just more it's more cementing that in. And then of course this is on top of all the normal Marvel shows that they're coming out with on Disney. So I don't know if they're gonna like try and shoehorn them in somewhere or how that's gonna work. Or hopefully it's not just like, hey, it's some bullshit cameo. So we'll see. Hopefully they just continue from where they left off. Let's see. And we got even more movie stuff. Oh, no, never mind. $1 billion class action lawsuit filed against Texas Electric Company after catastrophic bills. So, this is, again, an older one. More itchy noses for me. But you may remember kind of coming into the beginning of the year, they had that huge snowstorm down in Texas that basically just demolished the power grid that they have. Primarily because they are the only state that does not have a decentralized power grid. They wanted to make their shit just all private. And well, they weren't able to deal with this at all. And then what ended up happening is because of the way that their private system works, is that the power grid is basically, so I guess like the company supplies a power grid to like a city or a community at a fixed price, and they try to, and the way that their system works is that they try to extract that price regardless of how many people are using it. So what ended up happening is, most of houses and businesses and all this stuff completely lost their power. So they weren't able to get routed power or anything like that. But then a few people still had the power, but then the companies whatever this company was ended up trying to, oh, here it is. Yeah, Houston-based company Gritty. I don't think they were the only one, but regardless, they're private, so they tried to charge a small group of people for what would normally be allocated to everybody else. And you had some people were getting bills in like tens of thousands of dollars that month, which is obviously bullshit. And I know in a lot of cases they did, the company actually did reverse that, so like, oh, we screwed up. But I'm guessing in a lot of cases some of these companies didn't quite they didn't fix their problems, and so now they got to deal with this. And yeah, $1 billion is a lot. So also, fuck them, Hey, what else we got? All right, here we go back into the movie stuff. Now we're going back into the DC side. Dwayne Johnson reportedly fighting with Warner Brothers to restore the Snyderverse. And in case you're wondering what his stake in it is, because he's going to be playing Black Adam, which is kind of a spin-off of the Shazam part of the Justice League and Warner Brothers in general, which I never actually did see that first movie. But yeah, Black Adam is, so yeah, he's playing Black Adam, which is kind of one of their big villains. Actually, he's basically like an ancient dude who somehow gets resurrected with the bringing of Shazam, and he has like the same powers or whatever. But yeah, I won't give too much away, and I don't have like notes or anything like that in front of me because I'm not that good at coherent whatevers. But yeah, so hopefully this will, and this again, comes on the heels of them releasing the Snyder Cut, or at least HBO did. I'm not sure exactly what the deal is with that, but yeah, and it seems like every, after they came out with that version of the movie, seems like everybody involved is just, one after another coming out with new, things about, like, how working with Warner Brothers was, they just screwed everybody, basically. And, well, not so much The Rock, not yet, but I'm sure he's probably thinking, like, hey, if you're going to screw with all these people, you're probably going to screw with me. So he's trying to help, kind of bring the Snyder thing back, because they had a good thing going, and honestly, Warner Brothers fucked it up. And instead of basically being like an adult and fixing your problem, they just doubled down on their decision. Because they suffer from one problem that I believe a lot of people do, where you basically replace understanding with confidence, and then eventually you end up shooting yourself in the foot and taking everybody else with you. That's basically what happened with Warner Brothers, and it's still happening. They're not listening to their fans and the people that work on these movies, honestly, and they're just doubling down and shooting themselves in the foot. So we'll see. And maybe maybe we might get lucky and they end up having to sell off the whole DC franchise to somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Which I actually saw another article, which I should have saved, but because Snyder also made the Army of the Dead movie, who apparently was also trying to do that through Warner Brothers, but I guess they sat on it for like 10 years in order to do it. And also, this is the same Army of the Dead that Chris D'Elia was supposed to be on, I believe, and then they had to reshoot everything with Tig Notaro, including some CG stuff. I think they just did like some face replace type of stuff because they kind of look the same, I guess, apparently. But yeah, and they were saying that apparently Warner Brothers just sat on it for like a good 10 years. Last night they got an ad for the new James Bond coming out, but ignore that. That's not what this is about. I do want to see that though. And apparently Warner Brothers finally sold Army of the Dead to Netflix, who basically looked at it and were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. So now it's coming out soon this year, finally. But, just more examples of whatever they're doing. And last but not least, to continue on, this was the last thing that came out recently, is Gadot confirms Joss Whedon threatened her career during Justice League reshoot, which he apparently did with just about everybody in the cast. Even people like Ben Affleck's like, hey man, he's already got a career that you can't. He's, people like this, like they're beyond whatever. I don't know what the fucking guy was thinking, but hell, I don't know what. You know what? No, I do know what they were thinking. They were, I think in Joss's case, he's just. I think he's just one of those guys who's never been said no to, never been punched in the face, never been alone in the woods. And in Warner Brothers' case, they are. I know I talked about this before with Tom, but they literally. Well, they're owned by people who are money grubbers, and well, not to go into this vein, but quite frankly, aren't part of the community, aren't from around here. You know what I mean? And definitely don't have any real experience in actual movie making. They're just investors. That's who's making the decisions. But anyways, I know she kind of she didn't really speak out about this, so she continued, she tried to handle this, privately with Warner Brothers and I guess with friends and stuff, and seemingly things are like kind of okay because, afterwards they did, I think the first Wonder Woman movie came out before Justice League, if I remember right, and then the second one was more recent, which apparently also has its own problems. I still have to see that one, but yeah, and she decided anyway. Gal decided to come out with. I'm just rambling now, but the fuck is I'm trying to say? Let me find my words here. She finally made a statement after basically everybody else made statements following the new Justice League re-release. Mainly because I think also at the same time that was when who's the guy who played Cyborg? Ray Fisher, I believe, came out and made a stink, and which didn't really go over so well for him, I guess. But I think now it's starting to be like it doesn't really matter as much, and things are kind of starting to go, I guess, a little better for DC. But I mean, we'll see. DC, we'll see. Anywho, so that is pretty much all the articles I have. I'll have to save up some more for later, and well, let's get back into me and Tom for just a little bit more. Enjoy. Maybe. Yep. Okay, not sure what happened there.
I have to cut it to make that work.
Yeah. So my laptop went to shit on me a little bit. I do have more.
I think it was taking vengeance on you because we were talking about your hot new side piece action with the desktop, and it was like, "Oh yeah, leave me, will you?" and shut itself off.
Yeah, well, now you know why. So, prove my point. But yeah, so now I just have to. I went and got another copy of Windows.
Yes.
For this. Mostly because I'm not gonna have any time for like the next couple of weeks because I starting to get some venue gigs back.
Nice.
We have the MTV Movie Awards going on kind of over the next couple weeks here. It's only Sunday, technically, but I mean,
I thought you were about to be like, and I'm hosting them. I'm like,
yeah,
oh
right.
shit.
It's also the last one ever. But no, so it's gonna be like 2 weeks of moving stuff in and then out afterward. And I guess they're gonna pre-record a few things.
Most sense,
for
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with some of that stuff, you gotta assume that they do that. But anyway, ready to call this one in?
Yeah. So as you saw, my laptop kicked. That's what I'm getting. Yeah.
Before it takes vengeance on you again.
But yeah, so like I said, I'm building a new computer. So I'm almost done, which means that there will soon be new episodes of not only this, the jankityasspodcast, but also of the Poncho's Paint Booth and the Gutsy Ass Gamer, because I'll have a desktop that I can actually work on without waiting for everything to load every minute or so.
Yeah.
Like it does on this. Which also means that I'll just be exclusively using DaVinci for everything. So yeah, the videos will be better quality if you're watching on YouTube. None of which affects if you only like listening to us in audio. We're going to be on... Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to speak softly. Kind of. It is still a little echoey. Well, also, I can't really tell.
Yeah.
Oh.
You've actually been pretty good this whole episode. I'm not going to lie. You've been fine. For me, anyway.
Right. Maybe I'm just having like the simulated deafness.
Oh, yeah.
Because of my headphones, I think. But yeah, no. So if you'd rather, speaking of listening, if you'd rather listen to us, we're on this show is on every major podcast platform. So that's your iTunes, your Spotify, your Pandora, and then a bunch of other ones in between. And of course, also go check out Multi-Murdy Media, not only on YouTube but also on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, which also there will be more stuff coming up there soon within the month or so. And also .com for all the updates to all my sites. And I'm also starting to use that for my kind of professional demo reel type of stuff, but different page. And then, of course, Tom here you can find occasionally on...
TFG Radio, where I am with the LVO judges, and we talk about 40K and a bunch of goodness. We're doing something else also, which I will just leave it at that.
Ooh. A third show.
I know. Probably. Well, it'll technically be 2.5, but yeah. Because I'm not on that. I'm not on that show every week. Every 2 weeks when we do it, I'm probably on once a month. If it's an easy month, I'm on twice a month. But that almost never happens.
Yeah, I'll have to get on there one of these days and just kind of shit on everybody.
Oh yeah, no, John will let you. That's John's job.
Sure.
John, you don't want to put him out of a job now, dude. He's got a family to feed.
Just one of them then. One at a time.
There you go.
But so yeah, that has been the Jankety Ass Podcast for real, back in sort of full swing, depending on how things go. And we'll see you all next week.
Good night, everybody.